Would you like to make millions of dollars a year working at your own pace, on your own time, and from your own home? Well, if that's the case, then I cannot help you with that. Yes, that's right. I cannot help you make millions and millions of dollars. However, I can help you make thousands of dollars a year working where you want, when you want, and how you want, just by becoming an independent, self-employed bookkeeper. Yes, that's right. All you have to do is tune in and watch a little of this video every day, and you will have all the knowledge and skill you need to become an independent, self-employed bookkeeper. My name is Mark Smolin. I'm the founder and CEO of Worldwide QuickBooks. I personally guarantee you the clearest possible explanation for all the knowledge and skill you need to become an independent, self-employed bookkeeper. And if this video is not enough, then you still have the benefit of a live teacher, because I answer all my students' questions immediately if you leave them in the comments section below. This way, your learning experience is both easy and fun. You get all this on YouTube for tuning in every day, and I promise you, it's all free, free, free. What exactly do you need to become a self-employed bookkeeper? Well, that's very simple. You need three things. You need the proper credentials to persuade potential clients to let you be the person to do their bookkeeping. You need to be able to market your services to people who are looking for outside independent bookkeepers to help them. And most importantly, you need to know QuickBooks. Now, to make sure that you have all these things very easily, you should check the table of contents, which is in the description field of this video. When you're looking at this video, you will see the description field directly under the video as it runs. At the end of the text, there's a little Show More button, and if you click on it, the rest of the description field will open up and it will reveal the table of contents. This way, you can click on any of the parts that I just mentioned and just jump to the specific part that you wish to review in order to learn that section of how to become a self-employed bookkeeper. In fact, within each part, you can click on the time index of the chapter, and this video will jump right over to that chapter and section so you can go directly to the part that you'd like to review. Finding all three parts of this video is essential for you to learn smoothly all the different topics you need. First, we will learn about the credentials that establish you as a self-employed company. Then we will learn about more credentials that persuade your clients to hire you and let you be the person to keep their books and records. Once we finish learning about credentials, we'll learn how to market yourself as a self-employed independent bookkeeper. We'll discuss things that you have to show your clients and give your clients in order to persuade them to hire you as their outside bookkeeper. And we'll discuss places and websites where you can post ads to market your self-employed bookkeeping service. Then, of course, we'll get to the most important part, the QuickBooks part. And the QuickBooks part is everybody's favorite part. These videos are the #1 hit QuickBooks videos here on the internet and here on YouTube, and you will learn them better here than any other place. The QuickBooks part is the part that you'll physically be doing for your clients, and that's the part we will discuss first. So sit back, relax, and just enjoy watching like you're watching your favorite education channel, and you will learn everything you need.
Chapter 3. What do bookkeepers need?
Let's first learn about exactly what a self-employed bookkeeper actually does for their clients. You see, it's very simple. Your clients will give you their bank statements and credit card statements for all the transactions in their business. And you will record all of those transactions into QuickBooks or QuickBooks Online. Then QuickBooks or QuickBooks Online will turn around and give you the financial reports that your client needs to better run their business and to give to their accountant so their accountant can handle all of the tax issues. That's it. That's all you're doing as an independent bookkeeper. But exactly how to record them and what to record? Well, independent bookkeepers are only responsible for managing one area of accounting data, and that area is called the chart of accounts. In-house bookkeepers would manage other areas of data if you worked inside only one company as their main bookkeeper. Areas like accounts receivable and how much each customer owes you, or accounts payable and how much you owe each vendor, or even counting the quantity of merchandise inventory if they were a merchandise company. These are all separate areas of data that an in-house full-time bookkeeper would manage if they worked inside the company. But you don't have to handle any of that. You're the independent bookkeeper and you only have to manage the chart of accounts. And that's why you only need the crash course part of QuickBooks, which we will show you in part 1 of the 3 QuickBooks sections that you will learn in this course. All you have to do is record transactions in something that looks like an old-fashioned bank register, and QuickBooks will automatically process the transactions through the general ledger and give you one big fat summary report called the trial balance. And it would be exactly the same as if you used QuickBooks Desktop or QuickBooks Online. They both have register windows that make it very easy to record the transactions, and the results go on the reports immediately. You will learn everything involved in the crash course part of the QuickBooks section that you are about to see. And in order to get to the 3 different QuickBooks sections of this course, all you have to do is click in the description field below this video on the Show More button. Then, all you have to do after that, when the description field opens up, you have to click way down below the table of contents and find the links to all 3 QuickBooks sections so that you can finish this course and become an independent bookkeeper. There are 3 separate links for the 3 separate QuickBooks sections of this course, and I have them each for QuickBooks Online if you're using QuickBooks Online, and I have them each for QuickBooks Desktop if you're using QuickBooks Desktop. And if you follow all 3 links and watch all 3 videos and playlists perfectly, then you will have all of the QuickBooks knowledge that you need to be a self-employed independent bookkeeper. After you watch those videos, you must come back here to finish the course. And you may well ask, why is the QuickBooks part in separate videos instead of attached to this one big video here? That's because I will always update the videos for the newest version of QuickBooks and QuickBooks Online. And each time I update, I try to improve the quality of the delivery and the sound quality and the video quality each time I present the new version of that section of QuickBooks. This way, you'll have the latest and greatest QuickBooks knowledge as part of your knowledge to become a self-employed independent bookkeeper. The marketing part and the credentials part are still here in this video. So please come back here after watching that part so we can discuss the next QuickBooks section. And in order to find it, remember, click way down low below the table of contents to find the link to the crash course. It's named QuickBooks Desktop or Online, made simple for small companies, but it's basically the crash course you need as the first part of your QuickBooks training. Then please come back here after each QuickBooks part so we can clarify and prepare you for the next part and explain how it fits in to your responsibilities as a self-employed independent bookkeeper. Enjoy the crash course, and I'll see you after the course.
Chapter 4: Importing Transactions for Faster Results.
Thank you for coming back to this video where you can learn everything you just learned in the crash course, but much faster by using the bank feeds and download transactions feature. You see, you can save time with everything you just learned simply by importing everything from the bank account or the credit card account directly into your QuickBooks Desktop or QuickBooks Online software. You see, the bank is recording the same transactions in their records that you need to record into QuickBooks. But when you import them from the bank, they don't go directly into QuickBooks. First, they go into a review list that gives you the ability to approve each one to make sure the bank did not make a mistake. You also have to choose the expense account that goes with each transaction because the bank cannot know the names of your expense accounts in your chart of accounts. During this process, you can automate some tasks, so using the bank feeds and downloads feature will save you huge amounts of time as a self-employed bookkeeper. Once they're properly classified and automated in the review list, they go right into your QuickBooks Desktop or QuickBooks Online software, and they're ready to go just the same as if you recorded it the way you just learned in the crash course. It's really a vital feature that self-employed bookkeepers cannot do without. It can make 5 hours worth of work become 30 minutes. So enjoy the bank feeds and importing transactions course. And in order to find it, don't forget that you have to look at this video on YouTube, go to the description field, click the Show More button to open up the rest of the description field, and look way down below the table of contents to find the section that you're looking for. You can find the link to the bank feeds course whether you're using QuickBooks Online or using QuickBooks Desktop. Just choose the correct link for the software that you're using, and don't forget to come back to this video right here for the rest of the great stuff.
Chapter 5: Proving all records with bank reconciliation.
Thank you again for coming back to this video so you can learn the rest of the things that you need to be a self-employed bookkeeper. Now we're going to show you the most important part of your job, proving to your clients that everything you give them is correct to the last detail. You see, there's only one way to convince your clients that the numbers in the reports that you give them are perfect. You have to prove that the exact same transactions on the statements are the same ones in the QuickBooks file that gave them the reports in the first place. Bank reconciliation reports are the only thing that will prove your numbers are the same as the bank's and therefore correct. And in this very special course that everybody loves, there are additional techniques that you will see that will fix other types of mistakes that bank reconciliation cannot find. And this will make you very powerful and very important to your clients. So don't forget to find the bank reconciliation of this course. You have to look at this video and find the description field in the gray area under the video. Don't forget to click Show More to open up the rest of the description field, and then look way down at the bottom to find the links to the course that you want. And in this case, if you're using QuickBooks Online, you would click on the QuickBooks Online link for bank reconciliation. And if you're using QuickBooks Desktop, you would click on the QuickBooks Desktop link for bank reconciliation. Don't forget to click like after watching any of the videos that helped you. And don't forget to come back to this video right here for the rest of the great stuff.
Chapter 6. Managing Client Files.
You see, every file that you give to your client and every file that your client gives to you must be backed up properly. Specific client files must be backed up each month to secure locations. And past transactions and reports should always be available for your clients upon request. Client files should be organized in a specific hierarchy for ease of access and clarity. That means you should have one big fat folder with all your clients' files, and all of the immediate subfolders should be the client folders by year. Then the yearly folders should have each client's folders within them, and then those folders should be separated by month. Now, before I demonstrate in my own computer what I have, I wish to say that some people like it the other way. Some people like the client's folders to be the top folder, and then inside each client folder, you have their folder by year, and inside each year, you have folder by month. But what I found from experience is that it's very rare that you must go back to a prior year for reports and transactions, so it might be better to take the older ones in prior years and keep them in storage and just keep the current year so you can access the recent months. So in my specific example, you can see that I have the client's files all in one folder inside a specific set of subfolders on my desktop. And when I double click, you can see that I have the annual folders before I have the client folders, so that I can take all the older past years and keep them safe without those files cluttering up what I'm currently working on. And you can see they're broken down by year, and when I double click all of my 2022 files, you can see that I have each client just for the year 2022. Once I've chosen the specific year, I can double click and I can see all of the client's folders for that particular year. This example client is Candy Charles, and you can see for the year 2022, which is the example year that I chose, I have a folder for every month of that year for that client. And that's where the final files go. For example, this folder here has all the files for Candy Charles for September of 2022. And when I double click and open it up, you can see if I'm using QuickBooks Desktop, I have the file right here that ends on that month and was backed up at the end of that month to this folder. You can also see that I have every one of their bank and credit card statements backed up and saved, as well as all of their financial reports exported from QuickBooks Desktop or online as Excel folders, and their cash receipts folder. Any document or report that relates to that client for that month should go in that folder. And if I go up one and see the monthly folders again, I can choose a different month like November of 2022, double click, and you can see these are the same exact files except they pertain to November of 2022 for this particular client instead of September. And that's the way you should organize the hierarchy of your files. Then the question is, what specific files must be saved? Well, all of the reports that you must save for your clients can be backed up as Excel files. Every report in QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online can export to Excel. And at minimum, you must give your clients the trial balance, the balance sheet, the profit and loss for that specific month, the bank reconciliation reports for every bank account and every credit card account for the specific month that you're working on. And as a bonus, you should export transaction lists, like transaction list by customer, transaction list by vendor, and possibly even the general journal, just so that you could provide the service to the client of finding specific transactions if you somehow do not have access to your QuickBooks Desktop or QuickBooks Online. And of course, if the client specifically requests other custom reports, it's best to give the best service you can possibly give by remembering to back up that or those specific reports along with all your other files. You also must save the PDF files, or at least the files that are usually in PDF format. All bank statements that you receive from the client are usually in PDF format. You have to back them up with all of the other monthly files. The credit card statements are just as important as the bank statements to both reconcile and back up, and they all have to be saved in the same place. You might have other supporting documents depending on your client and depending on your client's situation. And of course, sometimes transaction lists can be exported into PDF format as well. It depends on what's most convenient for you and your client. But usually the PDFs are the banks and credit card statements, and the Excel sheets are the reports that come from QuickBooks. But they don't have to be. You have to be flexible regarding the type of format you want to save it to, and of course, the consideration of that comes from what your client needs. The last thing that you must back up are all of the cash receipts, all of the receipts for purchases and payments that your client has made during the month where they physically paid cash. Must have all of them, and in order to get them into the computer, you have to convince your client to either give them to you or take a picture with their phone and text you the picture, and you'll be the one to back it up into a cash receipts folder. Now remember, when it comes to cash receipts, that's the only proof of those transactions. When you charge by credit card or pay by debit card, you can always look at the statement for some level of proof if you didn't save the source document. But if you paid cash, you have no choice but to save the receipt, or it might be a problem proving it later. And the last question is exactly where to save all of these files after you put them in the folder hierarchy that I recommended. Well, the good old USB sticks usually work pretty well if you treat them properly, but you have to make sure that after you back up everything on your USB sticks, that the sticks themselves are saved to a physically secure location like a lockbox that not everybody has access to, because you are responsible for keeping them safe. The conventional wisdom is that you should store the USB sticks away from your computer. So if there's a fire or some kind of theft or casualty loss, and you wind up losing all the information on the computer, you don't also lose the information on the stick, because the stick was next to the computer when you had the fire or the flood or the casualty loss. So keep that in mind. You also really should responsibly back up in a secondary location, and the secondary location really should be somewhere in the cloud on the internet. Now, of course, there are free services that are reasonably secure if you behave responsibly, like Google Drive. That stores a lot of stuff, and if you're lucky that nobody hacks in and does anything, you could certainly use Google Drive as your secondary backup. But you should know that there are paid professional storage services out there that accountants specifically use and specifically pay for, just for the security of knowing that there's another separate company that specializes in storage that will take the legal responsibility of making sure the files are safe. That's part of what you're paying for. Now, of course, I do not endorse any specific company for storage backup. And quite frankly, these companies are going to come and go. So what you need to do is an internet search with your favorite search engine like Google to find the paid professional cloud storage, and then contact each company, find out what they offer, how much they charge, and how much responsibility they take regarding your client's backed up files. They literally do this service for accountants as their main service, so that they know that their responsibility is to keep it secure so that you don't have to worry. And lastly, you should know that you are responsible for keeping these records safe and secure. Each client's records must be available to the client upon request for at least 7 years after the time period requested. So do me a favor. Follow the conventional wisdom that I just gave to you in this video, and you will never have a problem managing your client's files.
Chapter 7. Choosing between QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online.
Both of these softwares have everything you need as a self-employed bookkeeper. You see, the only difference is the purchase agreement between you and QuickBooks and how you pay for it, and the slight conveniences that are a little bit different in either desktop or online. You see, with QuickBooks Desktop, you only have to purchase one copy with one user license, and you can service an infinite number of clients without any extra cost. That's because you can simply make a file for each client, and QuickBooks Desktop allows you to make as many company files as you need. So the number of company files you have should be equal to the number of clients you have. However, QuickBooks Online is the complete opposite. With QuickBooks Online, the accountant's edition that you must have to service your clients is free for everyone. However, each client's company account is a separately paid subscription, and either you or your client must pay monthly for the books and records that you have for that client. Now, the prices of these items change all the time. That's why only you can call in and compare the current prices and current features to decide which of the two software is best for you. Now again, with QuickBooks Desktop, it's very easy to access each of the client's files. All you have to do is double click, open up the file, do your work, close the file, and simply double click the next client's file and do the work there. But QuickBooks Online is different. With QuickBooks Online, there is a specific set of steps to access each client's books and records. Now, first, the client must invite you by entering your email address into a specific place in their QuickBooks Online client account. Then when you get the email, you have to view the email and click Accept to accept the invitation to be their accountant. You will then make a username and password to log into that client's account as what we call the accountant user. And the accountant user has special permissions that the other users don't have. Once you're there, the client will then appear on your client list when you log into your free accountant edition in QuickBooks Online. And from there, you can access the client's books And if you just double-click the client on the list, you'll have access to everything in their accounting records. Please view this demonstration of how that particular process works. What you're about to see is an excerpt or clip from the QuickBooks Online security course that's free right here on this website. An accountant user can do everything an administrator can do except add other users. You must invite the accountant user by email the exact same way that we just invited the standard user by email a moment ago. When the invitation is accepted, the accountant user must quickly sign up with the QuickBooks Online Accountant version of QuickBooks Online. It's as quick and easy as what you just saw a moment ago. The only other real difference is that the accountant user can access the accountant's toolbox. And sometimes business owners create an accountant user with a different email address just to be able to use some of these helpful tools in the accountant's toolbox. So then you may ask, what's in the accountant's toolbox? Well, they are tools that an accountant would need when managing your QuickBooks Online records. Some are specific for accountants and function in a way that an accountant would need if they were performing the function as an external accountant or someone who's, doing something very technical. However, some of the things in the accountant's toolbox are things that the bookkeeper or the business owner could still benefit from and use. For example, let's imagine that we want to make a new accountant user, Mackie the Big Dude Accountant. This is the email address that we will use, and let's imagine that this accountant has already signed up for a QuickBooks Online Accountant account so that we don't have to answer the same 2 or 3 questions we answered a moment ago when we signed up as a standard user. So we come here to the cog wheel and we click Manage Users. Now we will not click Users, we will instead click Accounting Firms. Scroll down and type in the email address of the accountant that you wish to invite as the accountant user. You click Invite and check the email format there, and here we are back in the Manage Users window, which is what you get bounced to once the invitation gets sent. And you can see that the invitation has been sent, and now let's imagine that we are good old Fat Mackie here in the email, and we're going to click our inbox to see that we just received an invitation to be an accountant user in Joe Schmo's QuickBooks Online account. So we double click, and I want to click Accept Invitation, and then of course you put in your security information and click Create Account. Now give your firm a name, and a zip code. Finish. Now you can see that you just signed up for QuickBooks Online Accountant. Click Continue. And here we are in your accountant's dashboard, and Joe Schmo shows up as a client. So keep in mind, if you're making an accountant user because you want to use the accountant features, so you use the different email address, when you log in, you will be logged into the Accountants Edition, and it says it here in the top left. What you're seeing here is a client list with one client, the person who just invited you to be their accountant. Of course, QuickBooks Online believes that you are an accountant that just accepted an invitation. It doesn't know that you're really Joe's bookkeeper who just wants to use the accountant's toolbox. So you have to you have to click in the green button to the left of the name in order to get into your books and records as an accountant. So you double click the green next to the name of the company, and here you are logged in just as if you were any other user. You have access to whatever's here in the cog wheel. You have access to any type of transaction, but what you also have access to is this, the accountant's toolbox. And when you click on it, you can pause the video to look at each of the different things that it offers. Some of these things you already have access to, but an accountant would still need, like the chart of accounts, journal entries, to reconcile, reports, access to voided, deleted transactions, and so on. Now, when it comes to closing the books, month-end review, and these things, those are things that would only be performed by the person serving the accountant function. However, I'd like to bring your attention to two things that are unique to this toolbox that I think a business owner would benefit from: reclassify transactions and write off invoices. Of course, you should consult with your accountant before you make the determination to write off invoices that were previously recorded and put into earned income. However, there is a separate video right here on this very website that I made about reclassifying transactions that I think a bookkeeper or a common business owner who is not an accountant could still benefit from using this. So these are things to consider when thinking about making an accountant user for your QuickBooks Online company. I hope that video clip was insightful and clearly explained how to manage clients using the QuickBooks Online Accountants Edition. But whether you use QuickBooks Desktop or QuickBooks Online, you should know that you must have the Accountants Edition of either. And that's because only the Accountants Edition has the special permissions and the special tools that you need.
Chapter 8. Legal documents that make you become an actual business.
These are legal documents that make you into an official company in the eyes of the world. The first thing you'll need is something called a DBA certificate. Then you'll need an EIN number. Then, of course, if you're from a state that charges sales tax, you'll need a state vendor's sales tax license. And if you're serious about telling the world about your professional responsibilities, you would take the extra step and make your company into a limited liability corporation. A DBA certificate is short for doing business as, and it's something you can get from your local county clerk. It will establish the official name of your company for all future legal documents so that people know this name is you and your company. And the most important thing that a DBA certificate can do for you is it will allow you to receive checks made payable to the name of your business, and you can cash them as an individual. You would simply bring the business certificate to your bank and use it to open a business bank account, and then this way the banks would have the legal authority to take checks made payable to the business and give it to you, the individual. So how does it work? Well, every state in the country is divided into counties, and every county has a county clerk's office where all the legal documents, such as registered deeds to the houses and buildings, are filed so that the town knows who owns what. and this is the place that you will register your business certificate. It's usually inside the local courthouse or always somewhere close to the local courthouse within that county. And every courthouse and every county clerk covers a specific jurisdiction as a place that all people can file public documents like deeds to houses and business certificates. Anyone could look up public records to find out who owns the business of a particular name that they're looking for. And that's really the purpose of having a DBA certificate filed with the county clerk. Now, filing the form here and paying the fee and signing it is what announces to the world that you, the individual, are the one responsible for all the actions and inactions of the company using that name. And that's why a business certificate is the most important thing to get first. Once you have your DBA certificate, you can give it to the bank in order to open a business bank account. And once you open a business bank account, the bank has the legal authority to give you the money from the checks made payable to the name of the registered business. So this is the documentation that supports that you are the owner and you are associated with that name. Then the registered business name is then the name you must use on all the other legal documents you need to operate the company. But what if your company is a partnership? Well, partners in a partnership share the ownership, profits, and responsibilities for the operations and the actions and the inactions of the business entity. And all partners must be listed on the business certificate. In fact, you must also include a copy of the partnership agreement when you file the business certificate in the county clerk's office, so that the entire world knows exactly which individuals are responsible for anything the business in this particular name does or does not do. And once it's filed in the county clerk's office and you have your company bank account that can cash checks in the name of the business, then it's time to get an EIN number. Now you may well ask, what is an EIN number? Well, it's a number assigned to your business entity that identifies your company to all tax authorities. It's similar to how your own Social Security number identifies you to the taxing authorities, and the application will include the Social Security number of all partners, and that would make sense. You see, it's free to apply and obtain, and it only takes a few minutes. All you have to do is go to the irs.gov and follow a few simple steps. Then you can use this number on all future documents that pertain to the company. Now, you can get an email within a few minutes after applying, and that email will be your company's EIN number. Just save the email and refer to the number as needed. But unfortunately, in some cases, additional legal documentation is needed depending on the state you're in. If you live in a state that requires independent bookkeepers to collect and pay sales tax, then you will also be required to get a state vendor's license. The tax rules for state sales tax, of course, vary from state to state. Some states don't have a sales tax at all, and not all products and services are subject to state sales tax, even in some of the states that actually require that you collect and charge sales tax. Every state has a website for their taxing authority where you can find out all of the sales tax information you need. And as a small business owner, you must find out for yourself if your state requires bookkeeping services and bookkeeping providers to collect and pay sales tax. Now, my state is New York, so for example, I would go to New York State Tax Gov, whatever that website is, and I would look specifically for the section of sales tax. First, I would read to find out if I need to register for sales tax, and in my example state, there is a specific publication that anyone can read to figure out if they do or do not have to collect and pay sales tax. If it is the case that you do have to charge your client sales tax and pay it, then you will be given a certificate of authority. And this is another credential that you can put on your website, hang in your window, that tells people you are in business and you are authorized by your state to collect and pay sales tax for the service you provide. And when you actually pay the tax, usually there's a specific form that's very simple to fill out, and you put in all your accounting information and all the information from your books and records of your company, and then once it's on the form will determine how much state sales tax you have to pay, and you would mail in the money with the form or use the state website to pay online. Whatever directions they give you is what you must follow. But again, you must visit your own state's tax department in order to determine what you will need. And by the way, these things that I just covered regarding the credentials that set you up in business, if you're providing a bookkeeping service and you know how to do these things for yourself, you can actually charge your clients for the service of obtaining an EIN number or filing a business certificate or obtaining a vendor's license for sales tax, so that you go through the time and energy of applying and the inconvenience of filling out the forms, and it can be an additional service that you charge your bookkeeping clients if they're interested.
Chapter 9. Credentials that persuade your clients.
The word credentials comes from the word credibility. It means believability. Credentials are things that persuade your client to believe that you can do a good job for them as their independent bookkeeper. And making your company an LLC is one of the things that tells the world that you are serious about your business responsibilities. A limited liability company is a status that the government can give you in order to protect the individual owners of your company from the debts and obligations of that company. Now keep in mind, the things we learned about up to this point establish your business as a separate entity only for record-keeping purposes. But for legal liability purposes, you are your company if the only things you did were the sales tax certificate, the EIN, and the business certificate. However, the owners of a company are all responsible for any debt that was caused by any transactions made by the company and in the company name or with the company EIN number. You're all responsible for each other. But if you make yourself an LLC, then you will protect yourself from the company debts and you'll be able to keep your personal assets. But let's discuss a few key points before I actually give you the steps on how to become an LLC. It's very rare that an error or omission by an independent bookkeeper will cause the client company to lose a lot of money or get in trouble. However, you may want to add this credential to your advertisements because it does tell people that you are a serious company. You see, if we can imagine the owners are individuals over here, and they're separate legal entities from the company, and then we have people who the company owes money to. Now, if you don't make your company into an LLC, it means the individual partners are directly accountable to anyone who the company owes money to. And any of the company creditors can go directly after the personal assets of any of the individual partners. But if you make your company a limited liability company, then the creditors can only go after assets and bank accounts that are in the company name, and your personal home finance bank accounts and assets are protected. Only the company is responsible for debts incurred by the company if you make it an LLC. And the partners are protected. Now, only in the extreme case of misconduct will the courts use their authority and do something called pierce the corporate veil in order to hold the individual owners of an LLC responsible for all the debts of the company. For the most part, you are protected. So then the question is, how do you become an LLC? Well, every state in the United States has a Department of State that allows your company to apply to become a limited liability company. Now, you could fill out the documentation yourself, but it takes long periods of time and attention, and it can be very frustrating. So, it's best to pay a professional company that will spend time filling out all the forms and gathering the information and submitting the application. And there are plenty of them on the internet, and it's very affordable. So for just a few $100s, you can pay someone to make this happen for you. Just Google how to become an LLC, and I guarantee you these companies' paid ads will come up, and you can contact them and find out how much it costs. What about being certified in QuickBooks or QuickBooks Online? Well, in my opinion, any credible organization giving a certificate in either bookkeeping or QuickBooks is sufficient. Only some of your clients will want to see a certificate from a credible organization. And clients who want this usually do not distinguish between certificates and do not know what certificate is best. So the bottom line is there's really no difference in getting a bookkeeping certificate from the American Institute of Bookkeepers or getting a QuickBooks certificate from Intuit QuickBooks the company or even your local job training school. As long as they see something, as long as they see some organization gave you a certificate that asserts that you were trained in QuickBooks or QuickBooks Online, for most clients, that's usually enough. But what I do believe will persuade your clients is bookkeeper insurance. But again, let me stress a few key points. Again, I assert that it's very rare that an error or omission by an independent bookkeeper will cause the client company to lose a lot of money or get in trouble. However, you may want to add this credential, bookkeeper's insurance, to your advertisements because it does tell people that you're a serious company. For bookkeeper's insurance, it's usually only a few $100s per year for coverage for about $1 million. And you can search on the internet for several different options and price around which company you think is the best for you based on what you'll pay and the type of coverage they provide. And you have to Google it yourself, search for them on your own search engines, contact them, and give yourself time to think about what they're offering. But the great thing that you get is an insurance certificate. And if you think your clients will be persuaded by hanging a certificate of insurance in your window that says you are covered up to $1 million for any errors and omissions that you do that cause the client's books to be wrong and cause them to get in trouble, even though it's very unlikely that it will happen, your clients, or at least some of them, will be persuaded to hire you because they see that you are responsible and serious. So these are all things to think about and determine for yourself if you want to add these credentials to your company.
Chapter 10. Marketing yourself as a self-employed bookkeeper.
You should be able to give to the thousands of people you meet in the course of your daily life a professional-looking business card that represents you. You're more likely to find clients. If you can show people that you're ready for business, they will think you're serious and they're much more likely to hire you. All card companies allow you to choose your own design, color, and theme. So what color and theme and design do bookkeepers need? Well, you should always trust the conventional wisdom of people who came before and were successful in marketing themselves as a self-employed bookkeeper. And you should also do what makes sense to you. In other words, people want their bookkeeper to appear reliable, trustworthy, stable, efficient, and likable. And that's the most important part. So if you're able to have a good conversation with them, and when you finish, hand them a nice business card, they're more likely to hire you. You see, the conventional wisdom says that you should use conservative colors that are usually used in professional advertising, like gray, blue, and green. Use a conservative layout as well, something that makes the service clear and convenient. Use the fewest possible words to convey your point and make them clear and visible, because the truth is, when someone hands me a business card, I don't want to do a lot of work and read a lot of text and think a lot. I want the fewest possible words to jump out at me so I understand exactly what I'm getting into if I hire this person. Now, you can also choose from the different templates that the different credit card companies give you. All companies give you example design templates to choose from, so you can find one that fits your specific personality but still conveys stability, reliability, and professionalism. They all have sections like headers and text boxes, so you'll always be able to print the words that you need. You just have to decide for yourself what the best words are. Now, you should put whatever is the most important and persuasive points that make you the person they should hire instead of someone else. And what I suggest at the beginning, if you're just starting out as a self-employed bookkeeper, is to purchase the fewest batches in the smallest quantity, because it takes time to get the proper feedback from potential clients about what might not be working or what might be working when you give someone a business card and give them that first impression. So even though I do not endorse any one particular company's credit card, I should say that you should try a couple at the beginning. Do your best to set up 2 or 3 nice ones. They're relatively inexpensive, and just see which ones tend to get you more business or even more positive feedback. If you're a self-employed person doing business today, most people will expect you to have your own website. And there are many sites out there that can easily give you the ability to make your own professional-looking site and put up on the site anything you need. Now again, I do not endorse any one particular brand of self-making websites, but I can tell you that they all give you simple software that make professional-looking websites very quickly. They all have design templates just like the business card companies have design templates, and they'll help you make it look professional, and it's all very affordable. And again, when you make the website, you should trust the conventional wisdom, do what makes sense, and consider what we learned a moment ago about what people expect to be the personality qualities of the person who's keeping their financial records. Trust the conventional wisdom. Use conservative colors that are usually used in professional advertising, like blue, gray, and green. Make sure it's a real bookkeepers, accountants, professional looking layout that's conservative, that really conveys your personality while at the same time conveying stability and reliability. And again, just like any other advertisement, you want to choose the fewest possible words to convey the main point. However, a website will require more words and pictures than a business card would. So there's a little bit more to consider when you follow the steps on these websites to build your own. You see, the first question you're going to ask is, since there's more text on a website than that which would be in a business card, what exactly should I write? What pictures should I choose? And where do I even start? Well, don't worry. You're a self-employed bookkeeper. You're not a marketing person, so you don't have to be original. The best thing I can tell you is start by looking at the ones who are currently successful bookkeepers and using their website as a base to decide what to make. Now, I do not encourage that you simply copy whatever they have and change the name, address, and phone number. I'm saying start with that as a baseline, and from that, use your own artistic and professional judgment regarding how to alter it to bring out your personality and convey that your site and your bookkeeping service is the better one. And you should also consider the fact that your main focus is delivering the best bookkeeping service you could possibly deliver. So since you're not really a marketing person, you have to be patient and accept that little by little, you will make changes that work until your own artistic sense will help you choose what you and your clients would like to see. And everybody's target audience is different. That's why only you can know what works, because you know your audience, you know what those people are looking for, so only you can ultimately decide what text and pictures to put on your website. Now, here's a great idea that will really convey professionalism and make people think that you're a stable company. Try to make a similar color theme and design theme between your business cards and your website. That really sends a message of consistency and organization, and it really makes you look like a professional company. Now, there are always tips and tricks on all of these self-building websites that help you market and make things really look professional and get your point across. And of course, since your focus is on being a self-employed bookkeeper, there's only so much time you can spend. So I would spend the time, but I would start with the base of using your competitors as a benchmark, change it little by little until you find what works for you. This way, you're not devoting huge number of hours to your marketing and you're not really focusing on doing the bookkeeping service. Now, every one of the templates on these self-making websites allow you to put your credentials that persuade. For example, here's my typical self-employed website, marksmolin.com. There is a specific place in every main menu that every website or self-building website provides for you where you can click, and when the pull down opens up, you can have the links to each of the credentials that would persuade someone that you should be their self-employed bookkeeper. And what credentials should you put up there? First of all, try to only put what will persuade someone to hire you as a bookkeeper. Do not mention that you won the conference championship in your high school in wrestling and beat the #1 seeded guy. That will not convince someone that you will be a reliable and trustworthy bookkeeper. Remember, less is more, and always get objective feedback on every credential you put up, and ask anyone who looks at it if they'll kindly tell you, does this persuade, yes or no? Now you can start with the credentials that we learned about earlier in this course. Remember, the whole point of me giving you that section would be to have you put things that you could put up in your website that would show stability, reliability, and confidence. So you could put up some pictures or some PDFs that would persuade if some of these things would really convince your target audience that you are the one to hire. Once you have your business cards and websites set up, you will then need to know where to market your services. You see, the recent trend towards hiring virtual assistants and work online is very helpful to self-employed bookkeepers. You can post all your common skills on these common sites. And believe me, I have seen a commercial for every one of these sites that you're looking at now. And they all have clear instructions on how to sign up and post. And they all give great suggestions on exactly what to put in your post to be able to persuade potential prospects that you are the person to hire. And if they don't work, there's always good old Craigslist. Craigslist has been around for a long time, and they have different sections like gigs and services where you can post ads for yourself as a self-employed bookkeeper. Remember, you're just starting out, so if you have to resort to Craigslist just to get the first couple of clients, I think it's worth it. I think you should post on every feasible place until you start accumulating a client base. And don't forget to put your website address in every ad that you put up so people can see that you are serious. Now, the other thing about all these websites that you're posting on, they give you the ability to respond to help wanted ads as well. So you have to visit both places, the person advertising or the section where you're the one posting and advertising, and you also have to visit as if you're the person looking to answer the ad. And if you patiently go through each part of these sites, I know it takes a long time, but if you're not busy doing bookkeeping because you don't have any clients, these websites would be the places to spend your time on until you fish and hunt down a couple of good clients. But the question is, if you're going to be responding to posts, what should you put in the text of the response to persuade them to reach out to you and hire you? Well, you can also do some research about cover letters and letters of application. Because if you're responding to an ad on Upwork or Craigslist or one of these other sites, you really are applying for the job that they're posting. And there's a separate set of conventional wisdom about what to put in a letter of application or a cover letter when you're trying to reach out someone to respond to an ad for a job. In the case of a self-employed bookkeeper, those letters would be very similar to the cover letters you would send out if you're looking for an office job. Now remember, respond to the ad with words that directly address what the person is asking for. In fact, the most powerfully persuasive thing would be to take the exact words and somehow put it in your response that explained, or in such a way that would explain to them you can definitely do what they're asking for, and if you've ever done it before, that should be the first thing you mention. Now, there is a science behind trying to obtain a client or obtain a job, and you can't devote your life to this if you're trying to do bookkeeping. But when you look at their ad, you should highlight anything you once did that directly addresses something they ask for. No matter what it is, make it a real experience and explain why that experience will help them in this case. And again, refer to your website and all the credentials on your website that directly address what they posted in the ad, and make sure you provide the link. If they see on your website that you did something they asked for, you're probably going to be at the top of their short.
Chapter 11. Secrets to Bookkeeping Success.
You see, these are remaining bits of knowledge from the experience that I have accumulated that I would like to give all of you in order to help you start out as self-employed bookkeepers. And the first thing you have to ask yourself is, exactly what do clients want to see before they hire a self-employed independent bookkeeper? And the same answer will come back time and time again. They want to see experience. Only actual experience that a potential client can check will ultimately persuade them to hire you. So, every website template allows you to post the credentials that persuade, and they're the ones that we spoke about. Remember, if you have a typical self-employed website, there should be a main menu option where you can put your credentials front and center. But sometimes the credentials of having a resume or having letters of recommendation might be more appropriate than 5-star reviews. You see, if you were an employee for most of your work life, it's probably good to have a resume that people can check. And at the moment one of your employers gives you a compliment about how well you did, that's the moment to ask for a letter of recommendation. And letters of recommendation can be pre-written so that all they have to do is sign it. And that makes it easier for them to give you the letter, and they don't have to waste time, think about it, or even forget to write it. You can use other people's example letters of recommendation to decide to put what to put in yours. Remember, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Your focus is providing excellent bookkeeping service. So if you're not an expert at marketing, there's no shame in looking at another bookkeeper's letter of recommendation that someone else wrote and taking the most important words. And if the person who's writing you the letter wants to write their own, sure, you should encourage them to do that only if they have time. Because I found from my experience, there are so many people who want to leave a 5-star review or want to write a letter of recommendation, but they get busy and they forget. Just like I get busy and forget whenever I promise someone a 5-star recommendation. So whenever you want these references or reviews or recommendation, try to make it as easy as possible for the client. Now, for self-employed people, 5-star reviews might be better than letters of recommendation when you put it up on your website. And there are typical review sites that most people just tend to rely on simply because they're there. For example, if you look at my website, marksmolin.com, you can see I posted very clearly the typical sites that people go to review self-employed and small business services. I put up the most common ones, like Google My Business and Yelp. But these are not the only ones. You could try some others, like Bing Reviews or Yahoo Reviews, and there are plenty. Any of the ones that you're aware of that might generate business. And all of them are very easy to sign up. You just do an internet search with their name, find the site, fill out the form, and put in the business information that you established from the beginning of this video, and then you're ready to go. And then once you have it, you could put it up in your website. So if you look at the marksmolin.com website, you see I have these too. All I have to do is click the G, and my Google My Business reviews and all the information comes up, and you can see I have 41 perfect 5-star ratings and 1 lunatic who wasn't even my client. That's something you have to consider and your relationship with the review company in order to remove invalid reviews. The other one is Yelp. You can see I have 2 perfect 5-star ratings, and it's the same lunatic who wasn't my client. So of course, you have to be able to communicate with them and follow their rules. And you don't want to get too caught up in obsessing over your reviews or dealing with it. but it is something that makes you look professional, even if all of your reviews aren't perfect. Now, you could also get pages on typical social media. I'm talking about business pages. If you belong to Facebook or LinkedIn, it's much easier and faster to make a business page for your company on the social media site within your account than it is to make a typical web page. And that's because there's very little flexibility about what you can put. You can only post some pictures and texts and put some company information, and the rest is up to the people on Facebook or LinkedIn. And if it's difficult for you to do all of these different things, remember, they're only a few $100s each, and young people tend to be very savvy about how to make these. So you might want to pay a young person to set it up for you. And on that note, I want to talk about something that people always discuss when they're asking how to get started. They say, it's not fair that it takes money to make money, and that anytime you start a self-employed business, you have to make sure you have enough money for the things that you need. So let's stop for a second and discuss exactly how much I asked you to pay so far in this course. I asked you to buy business cards, make a self-made website or pay somebody to do it. I asked you to make your own business page on Facebook or pay someone to do it. Same thing with LinkedIn. Remember, there's a fee to the Department of State if you want to become a limited liability corporation, and it's probably a good idea to pay someone who knows how to get that done to make it happen. It's very easy to get a doing business as business certificate, but of course, most states and most county clerks charge a nominal fee. I had also mentioned it's very affordable in relation to the benefit to pay annually for bookkeepers insurance, and in some states where the bookkeeping service is taxed for state sales tax, you might have to buy a vendor's license. And the last thing I mentioned that was really persuasive to some clients is to take bookkeeping and QuickBooks courses that offer a certification test and a certificate. So these are all the things that you were requested to pay for in order to establish your business. And you might say, wow, if you're not working and you're just starting out, it runs into money. But the real truth is, all of the things on the list that I just showed you, added together, are still more affordable than setting up almost any other kind of business. And if you're spending money on the business to set it up, then one of the big final questions that you're going to ask me is, how much should you charge the clients? Well, obviously I can't tell you the exact amounts. Market values change, inflation changes everything, and situations change. And the demographic of your audience and your potential client base is going to be different for everyone. But you should just consider a couple of things. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can use other people's fees and the amount that other self-employed bookkeepers charge as a benchmark as to how to start the number for negotiating and charging your clients. And ultimately, you have to find a number between the amount your competitors charge and the absolute minimum that you would be willing to charge just to get started with your first few clients. The amount you charge will obviously be somewhere in between there, and it's going to be different for everyone. And the final big question that I've gotten so many times when I was teaching in job training schools, teaching QuickBooks and other computer and office skills, if experience is the most important thing, how do you obtain your first few clients? That's the biggest question and the biggest challenge that I hear all the time. What do you say to the very first person who's going to potentially hire you? Well, here's what I can do. I can give you my opinion from my experience. It may not work on every single potential client you see, but I feel quite confident that if you say the things that I am suggesting that you say, it'll make it a lot more likely that your first few clients will hire you. So I suggest you stress the following points. So here I now present Mark Smolin's key points in discussing why a new client should hire you. Now, you want to convince them after presenting to them all of your credentials, but before actually securing their agreement. So if they've already seen your website and they see those lovely credentials, I would stress, first of all, that if they hire you, there is no risk to them at all, because you do not need any confidential information to provide the service that you give. And that might surprise a lot of clients because you're doing bookkeeping. Tell them, look, I don't need your social security number. I don't need to log into your bank. I don't need to access your bank account. I don't need any sensitive account numbers. You're just going to give me some simple copies of documents, and I'm going to give you back your monthly financial reports so you're able to do your taxes. That's it. So tell them all you have to give are the statements of your credit card and bank account and the little paper receipts for the cash payments that you paid for business items when using cash. That's all you have to do. And then you can stress to them that the account numbers can be redacted, which means covered and protected, before they give you the copies of those statements, so that there's no way that there's anything that you're doing that could have any possible effect on their bank or credit card accounts or credit rating or confidential login information or anything else. In fact, if you learned about the importing transactions course, you can ask them to log in and pull out the QBO file or the CSV file for the month and just give it to you so that you can import it. And when the banks give the QBO file or the CSV file, they only show the last 4 digits of the account number anyway. So if they do that for you, there's no chance that you can get their account numbers or their login or confidential information, and everything is totally secure. And you should also mention that they need only spend a few minutes per month clarifying a few transactions with you when they give you their files and receipts and documents. So you will try to streamline the process of them telling you which expense or which income account goes with a particular deposit, check, withdrawal, or cash payment. And try to streamline it so that the process takes as little time as possible, and tell them up front any information you need from them can always be at their convenience. And one final reminder, ultimately, all of the non-QuickBooks parts that you learned about in this course will apply to every small business everywhere. And don't forget to offer that and all your other skills to any client who already hired you if they're interested in other things that you can do, like make websites or do their office work or anything else. Remember, it's up to you to persuade them and behave in such a way that motivates them to give you more work. I thank you so much for staying with me and learning all the knowledge I have to give so that you and others can benefit from everything that I've learned over the years helping people become self-employed bookkeepers. I hope you will always remember to click like after watching each of the videos in order to support this free channel for everyone, and please encourage others to subscribe. And I really hope I will hear from you in the comments section, so please stay in touch.